connecting with student ID of 2023481168.
Hi, my name is Sofia Solia binti Nasri with the student ID 2023634612.
Hi, my name is Sitin Raina and my student ID is 2023493554.
Hi, my name is Rania Ediva binti Baharudin with the student ID 2023672742.
Hi everyone, Timor-Leste, also called East Timor, is a small country in Southeast Asia. It became an independent country in 2002. The capital city is Dili and people speak Tetum and Portuguese. Timor-Leste has a democratic government and is still developing its economy. The country is known for its strong culture and history of fighting for independence.
Timor-Leste is a semi-presidential representative democratic republic. This means power is shared between a president, a prime minister, and a parliament. The system ensures a balance between executive and legislative powers. For the executive branch, the president of the republic is the head of state, elected by popular vote for a 5-year term. While largely ceremonial, the president has some important powers, such as appointing the prime minister and vetoing legislation. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is the head of government and holds the real execution power. The Prime Minister is usually the leader of the majority party or coalition in the national parliament. For the legislative branch, Timor-Leste has a unicameral national parliament with 65 members elected by proportional representation. The parliament is responsible for creating laws, approving the budget, and overseeing the executive branch. Parliamentary elections are held every 5 years. Major political parties in Timor-Leste include Fretilin, which is known as Revolutionary Front for an Independent East Timor. The second one is CNRT, which is National Congress for Timorese Reconstruction, and lastly PLP, which is People's Liberation Party. The coalition politics are common, as no single party often wins an outright majority.
So now, I'm going to talk about the economic challenges facing by the Timor-Leste, which is oil dependency and youth unemployment. Timor-Leste economy relies heavily on oil and gas. For many years, most of the country's income is coming from petroleum exports. This means that if oil prices goes down or oil reserves run out, the country loses a big part of the money. The main cause is over-dependence on oil. Since gaining independence, Timor-Leste has focused a lot on oil as its main source of income. But oil doesn't create many jobs because it's a high-tech industry with limited local employment. Also, the Bayu Undan gas field, one of the country's biggest source of income, stopped production in 2022. The replacement project called Greater Sunrise has been delayed. Then, here are some facts. In 2023, Timor-Leste economy grew by about 2.4%, and in 2024 it rose up to 4%, mostly from government spending. The employment rate now is around 1.5, but it doesn't show the real picture. Many young people are underemployed or working in the informal sector. And what is the solution? The Timor-Leste government has taken some steps. They are trying to grow other parts of the economy like agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing. They are building roads, schools, and other infrastructure to create jobs. Education and vocational training programs are being expanded to help youth learn practical skills. So, in my opinion, Timor-Leste must act fast to diversify its economy. Relying too much on oil is risky. More support should go to farmers, small business owners, and young people trying to find stable work.
One major social domestic issue in Timor-Leste is youth unemployment. Timor-Leste has a very young population. Around 70% of its people are under the age of 30. Every year, thousands of people finish school or university and try to find jobs. However, the country does not have enough job opportunity, especially for the youngest generation. Many young people in Timor-Leste live in rural areas where jobs are mostly in farming. But modern farming methods or resources are still limited. In the cities, there are some jobs in government and small businesses, but the competition is very high. Most private companies are small and cannot afford to hire many workers. Because of this, many young people end up staying unemployed or doing informal work that does not give them a stable income. The government has tried to create jobs through public programs and vocational training. However, the quality of education and skill training is not strong enough to match what the job market needs. Many employers say that young people do not have the right skills or experience. As a result, even educated youth face difficulty finding suitable jobs. Youth unemployment not only affects the economic, but also causes social problems. When young people have no jobs or purpose, they may feel hopeless, and some may get involved in crime or political violence. To prevent this, the government should invest more in technical and vocational education that match current market demands and also promote entrepreneurship program for the youth, especially in rural area. This policy can help young people gain useful skills and create their own income sources. According to Asian Development Bank (ADB), youth unemployment in Timor-Leste remains a serious challenge due to weak private sector growth, limited investment, and lack of technical and vocational skills.
After the independence of Timor-Leste in 2002, they have faced significant challenges in building national security institutions from the ground up. The country's security environment has been shaped by its history of violent conflict, internal political crisis, and dependence on international peacekeeping. Today, Timor-Leste remains largely peaceful but continues to face complex security issues, including weak infrastructure, border and maritime disputes, internal unrest risks, and capacity limitation in its police and defense forces. Understanding Timor-Leste security requires an exploration of its institutions, historical legacy, external partnership, and ongoing reforms to ensure national stability and sovereignty. I'd like to briefly highlight the historical journey of the Timor-Leste security development. So, the story begins with a long and painful history of colonization and conflict. After more than 400 years under Portuguese rule, the country declared independence in 1975, only to be invaded by Indonesia days later. What followed was a 24-year occupation marked by violence, resistance, and heavy loss of life. In 1999, after a UN-supervised referendum, the Timorese overwhelmingly voted for independence. This triggered a brutal response from pro-Indonesian militias, leading to widespread destruction and displacements. International peacekeepers led by Australia and supported by the United Nations were deployed to restore order. Timor-Leste officially gained independence in 2002, but challenges continued. In 2006, internal conflict between factions of the police and military causes another crisis, prompting the return of international forces. Since then, the country has made significant progress. With support from global partners, Timor-Leste has built its own national police and defense forces. Although challenges remain, the nation continues working toward a more stable, secure, and independent future. The PNTL, or known as Police National of Timor-Leste, is responsible for internal security, law enforcement, and also public safety. Since its establishment in 2000, it has grown steadily, supported by international training and reforms. While the PNTL faces challenges like limited resources and public trust issues, it continues to strengthen community policing and professional standards. On the other hand, FDTL, our Volunteer Force of Defenses of Timor-Leste, is the military force tasked with protecting the nation's sovereignty and borders. Rooted in the resistance movement, the FDTL has played a symbolic and strategic role in national identity and defense. It is a small but disciplined force, focusing on modernization, disaster response, and also maritime security. Together, the PNTL and also FDTL form the foundation of Timor-Leste security sector. Continued coordination, training, and reform are essential to ensure they can meet both traditional and emerging security challenges. Timor-Leste shares a land border with Indonesia and has extensive maritime boundaries in the Timor Sea. Since the independence, the country has worked to strengthen its border security, to protect national sovereignty, manage cross-border movement, and prevent illegal activities such as smuggling and human trafficking. On land, the government has established Joint Border Commission with Indonesia to resolve disputes and promote peaceful cooperation. While most of the border is clearly defined, a few areas, especially the southern highlands, are still under negotiation. At sea, Timor-Leste signed as a historic maritime boundary treaty with Australia in 2018, settling a long-standing dispute. However, maritime security remains a challenge due to limited naval capacity and illegal fishing in Timorese waters. Border security is managed through cooperation between the FFDTL, PNTL Border Patrol Unit, and international partners. Continued investment in surveillance, patrol, and regional diplomacy is crucial for protecting the country's borders and supporting the national development. In conclusion, Timor-Leste has made a remarkable progress since gaining independence in 2002, but it still faces important challenges. Politically, the country has built democratic institutions and held peaceful elections, though political tension and leadership struggles sometimes test stability. Economically, Timor-Leste remains heavily reliant on oil and gas revenues, with efforts underway to diversify, and build a sustainable future through agriculture, tourism, and human capital. Socially, the nation has improved in health and education, but poverty, youth unemployment, and unequal access to services continue to affect development. In terms of security, the country has transitioned from a post-conflict environment to a maintaining peace through its own national police and defense forces, with support from regional and international partners. Timor-Leste future depends on strong governance, inclusive economic policies, social investment, and continued efforts to strengthen national security. With commitment and cooperation, the country is well positioned to build a more stable, prosperous, and independent